Hi, thank you for still being here with me. I'm Algiannaki. I'm an electrical and computer engineer from the Technical University of Crete, and today I'm going to present to you MusiCityX. It's a Unity app that we created together with Panos, Parthenios, and Katerina Mania, and the simple title would be Turning Buildings into Music and Vice versa. So we saw a problem. Urbanization creates incoherent cityscapes, and auditory perception plays a crucial role to enrich design thinking. That's why we created MusiCityX, which is an interactive tool where you can create landscapes, and then these landscapes are getting translated into musical footprints. And from there, the users can change these musical footprints, and they can see the architectural structures changing in real time. And this would, in theory, fix or try to make urban cohesion better. So connections between music and architecture are not new. Goethe stated that architecture is frozen music. Novak created the term archimusic, and then Xenakis took it a step furthest, where he would use mathematics from his musical compositions to create buildings. So, for example, the Philips Pavilion's curved cells that you see there, they came from musical gestures. Our work sits in this lineage, but turns it into a practical tool people can use. Everything around us is composition. So we compose a city from raw materials to buildings to roads to cities. We compose music from a phrase to a period to a larger period to the final musical piece. We align these units so that a street is like a musical sentence and a building is like a chord. That shared structure is what makes our translation consistent and easy to use. So a building is a chord. A chord has three factors, three notes. The first note is the root note. It defines the scale. The third and the fifth defines the identity. So if it's a major or a minor chord. So we chose to use Western classical musical theory because chords give clear rules for right versus wrong. So non-musician can listen better to these incoherencies and try to fix them. Color is the architectural analog of the root note. They both impact the connection of one with the whole. To translate the color, we first split the buildings into two octaves by saturation. So the softer colors will get translated into the fourth octave that sounds like this. And then the higher saturated colors will get translated to the fifth octave. That sounds like this, but with higher notes. So we use an HSV algorithm to translate the buildings of each road into the notes. So the first building will get assigned the lowest frequency, the note C. Then the new buildings will get compared, and we will compare first the brightness. The higher the brightness, the lower the note. Then if the brightness is equal, we will compare the saturation. The lower the saturation, the lower the note. If the saturation is also equal, we will compare the hue. The lower the hue, the lower the note. So yellows and reds will have a lower note than magentas and blues. If everything is equal, then they will get translated into the same note. The height of the ground floor, or HCF, is very important to us because it changes the spectator's view greatly. We have four choices that you see there in our app. We chose the third factor to translate it because the third factor has an impact on the chord that mirrors HCF's impact on the view. To translate it, we first create an ordered set, then we calculate the average HCF for every road, and then we calculate the difference. The average HCF will sit on the fifth scale degree to create a major chord. So to find the final position of the note, we do this deduction there. Then we have the number of floors. The number of floors has the widest range. That's why we translate it into the fifth factor. The fifth factor is the only chord factor that can move through several positions, and we can add also new notes on top of it. To do the translation between these two, we follow the same logic as before. We have the order set with the 10 floors that you can choose from. We calculate the average, and then we calculate the difference. Then we have three different cases. The first one in the middle, if the difference is between minus and plus 1, then we calculate the position of note like before. The only difference is that the fifth factor sits on the eighth scale degree to create a major chord. After that, for buildings that are more than one floor higher than the average, we place the fifth factor on the ninth position, and then we add extra nodes on top of it, depending on the difference. So for example, if you see the table there, for difference 4, we will add a new node on position 12 and another node on position 14. For buildings that are more than one floor lower than the average, we place the fifth chord on position 7 because according to the classical theory, you cannot move it lower than that without breaking the chord. And then we add an extra note before it, before the chord. So now I'm going to show you a video so that you can understand why the average is the center of our decision making. Okay, so now let's move on to the melody. We use melody to translate the facade elements, the doors, the balconies, the windows. The elements are being translated into the same notes of the chord of every building, creating a melody playing on top of a chord. Let me show you an example of this. Okay, so MusiCityX runs in 4 steps. Let's look into them to get a glance of the user experience. The first step is creating the roads by using 2 prefabs and some collision triggers. The second step is the buildings. On the left side, you can see the building control panel where you can insert all the parameters for a building. And on the right side, you can see the UI for adding elements. You can choose an element and a floor, and then a function determines the height that this element will appear according to the chosen floor, the total height of the building, and the height of the ground floor. And then you can move the element through the x-axis and place it. Then afterwards, you choose the path. The order you choose this path defines also the direction of the translation, so the direction that the pedestrian will take. So then the translation happens. Oh, what happened there? Okay. Okay, so then the translation happens and we reach the music stage. There, the 75%, the top part of the screen, is a camera that allows the user to move and interact with their surroundings. And the bottom 25% is the main digital audio workstation, where you can see the chords of the building as white squares, followed by their melody on top. There, the user can listen to the music translation of the path, and they can change every building's position and length. When the user presses on a building, the individual door appears. There you can see all the notes of the chord separately, and you can also see the melody. You can change all of the notes that you see there, and you can see the instant change of the corresponding architectural compound. So for the evaluation, the architects that participated were shown a demo. They were asked to do 2 tasks, and they filled in a questionnaire, and we also had an interview. So according to the questionnaire, the performance was above average, with a reduced effort compared to the average, and minimal frustration even for people with low to non-musical background. So the app was easy to handle. There were a lot of opinions that I wanted to add here. To some, it reminded them of jazz. It maintained the artistic liberty. It offered inspiration. Some would use it as a tool to integrate structures like a mall into a residential area, while others to disrupt the coherence on purpose as a statement piece. For future work, we could add the curvature, citizen movement. We could also enhance the algorithm by adding more musical styles, matching architectural eras and places with genres. And it could also be used as an educational tool. Finally, I believe that MusiCityX creates a new mode of urban thinking where cities can not only be seen, but also heard. So thank you. While I'm answering questions, I will just leave a video playing with no sound so that you can see the whole thing.
Amazing. Just I really liked your idea. It's very, very innovative, and it tries to map to different, completely different. In my mind, I've never thought of a city playing music, and apart from innovation, and you provided the last slide some real uses of it. How, I mean, blind people can experience worlds, etc., etc. You can think many applications of this. I'm just curious to. You seem to have worked mapping concepts of one domain architecture into the other, music. I mean, the important thing here is to build mappings that would make sense, and they seem to be a bit random the way you said the floor is that chord or whatever. And just an idea which comes in mind, listen to your talk, is we have ugly cities or beautiful cities, right? That would be an evaluation criterion. The music would ugly cities produced would be cacophonies, would be bad music. So you need somehow to create, to, apart from doing user studies as you're doing, okay, that's fine. But you need as an ultimum evaluation criteria to see that you're mapping, and then perhaps adjust the mapping, the mechanism you thought, which I thought it was a bit random, but I would like to know how you came up to that. That would produce a really, because the aesthetics of space and cities, we can have a feeling of what is beautiful or not, and the same with music. Yeah. So I would like this mapping to reflect one to the other, so to have a real value. But otherwise, I'm absolutely stunned. I'm really amazed by your work. Congratulations.
Thank you. So about the translation, so I was working with Parthenios, who is on the architectural side, and we tried to look into the pedestrian experience, like what people see. So that's why the height of the ground floor is so important, because that's in your eye level, for example. So we tried to look into that. Of course, we can add more things. That's why I said like curvature, because these are boxes right now, but it's just the start, I think. And also from the musical side, I studied like classical music. So I did like a lot of research even to other connections of fields like music and paintings, music and something else. And I was trying to figure out like a way. I know because they're both arts, it's not like, oh, this is it and that's it. That's correct. Everything else is wrong. But in my mind, and according to like my research, because we tested it also to roads of Chania, this was one of them, it translates the incoherences like we wanted. But I'm sure, and that's why I'm saying that if we add also other musical styles, it could also like grow to be something even like better and more concise. But yeah, I love the idea. And like in the future, if we could like, for example, add the map in Unity like that, so that you don't have to build everything, so that you can add a whole city, it would be really nice to test it there and adjust the translation.
Congratulations for your presentation. It was very interesting and very well explained, even to some of us that have no music ear. I would like, you said that in your future work that it could be combined with architectural styles if we change stuff and be extended. Could we even take into account, if we'd upload a huge city, natural elements like a park, a tree, a statue, or even combine different instruments? Because right now I think it was only piano.
Yeah, for sure. We added also like a violin, like for the triangular roof, but this was, I think, just like we were trying to figure out what we should do. But yeah, we also talked about like adding squares, because squares are like focus points on a city, and of course entries and everything. So that's why like I feel like it's. I love the work, but I feel like it gives you a lot of ideas to go forward from there. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful. And I'm curious if you thought of applying all this work as a tool for research through design, because it, as also Professor Avuri said, it raises a lot of question of about how when we consider a city beautiful, what affect us, what we notice, and the same in music. So I think it's something that it really can deepen our understanding of what we find harmonic or melodic in a city, because this can open to many styles. It's an ongoing um, topic on in aesthetics and art. What's beautiful, what's not, what's harmonic, as you said, what's right, what's wrong. But we can learn a lot about the citizens and how they experience the city, I think, through this your tool. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, in the future work, I mentioned like the movement of the citizens to add it there. And I think if we would add it in the future, I would like to take like people walking around and having them say their opinions, because I think the quality of the quality of findings from there are the most important to figure out like how to do that. Yeah.
I think the only time, well done for your presentation. I think the only time that I've seen someone comparing music with a city and how its architecture is in futurism, where people were praising the industrial, let's say, style of a city, and they created sounds that would make sense to them, and they were like, okay, this brutalism is so nice, and we will create music on it. Which is what your presentation reminded me of. Which at the same time, now your presentation is not praising the brutalism of a city, but actually is trying to make sense of it and create something that I would never correlate music and architecture. And I think what everyone is actually trying to say today is that we're actually very curious about your work, and we would like you, I think, to do something like critical design and raise awareness about cities, or that's what my mind as well is going to, and even inform people that are blind how a city might sound, because they cannot see it with their eyes, or they can feel it definitely, or like a big city, or they cannot experience how ugly it is, because if you've been to European cities or US, you would see that there's a certain construction. They make sense. Cities make sense in a way, but in Greece it's all over the place. Especially Syros, if you've seen it, it's like a big favela. It's everything everywhere all at once. It's beautiful, but it's yeah, it's like everywhere buildings and different architectures. I'm not the correct person to talk about this. Vasiliki left also, but yes, your work is really interesting. It inspired me very much, and I hope everyone else as well. Thank you.
Thank you.